you covered. I liked what you posted right after the playoffs were announced, because that 16 playoff looks a lot more fun than the 14 playoff.
Yeah, well, and this is what I've been talking about all season long. This is why we've been doing the Limp Ditka's top six all year, because I think a 16 playoff is where we should be, and it would have been perfect in a bizarre year where we're making up all the rules in 2020. Why not just for 1 year drop more teams in just as an experiment? So I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that, but it would have solved it would have solved a lot of issues. I mean, there would still be arguments on who the sixth team was versus who the fourth team is now. But you at least in my mind, we would put the same top four, and then we would add Texas A&M at number 5, and then I would add Cincinnati at number 6 as the last
Yeah.
one to make the playoffs. Where shit, I forgot who the committee put at number 6. If it's
Probably.
Florida or Georgia. No,
Was it
I think it's
Georgia?
Oklahoma
Oh,
actually.
it's Oklahoma, right? Because they
Which
won
is
the Big 12.
That's a joke, by the way. I mean, they've got 2 losses, and they put them ahead of Cincinnati, who's undefeated, which is just
They won the Big 12 championship, right?
well, that just proves the point that this should not be called the college football playoffs. This should be called the Power Five Invitational, because if they're not going to let even in the top 6, not let a undefeated Cincinnati team in, I think they finished 7 or 8. They're never going to be in the top 4, let alone the top 6. So.
Well, it also
It's not a playoff for anyone else but the Power Five is what they've confirmed, but beyond a shadow of a doubt this year. So it's a joke, and the other 5 should start their own tournament if they want. They could get Fox or somebody to broadcast that as a rival tournament to play on January 2nd or whatever, however they want to do it. And
enough money there.
That's where you'd have, I mean, it wouldn't be the greatest, but instead of tonight, like UCF and BYU are playing, well, those guys would be playing in a tournament with Cincinnati or, whoever else. They can do a top 4 if they want or whatever they do. But
they could call them NIT.
Yeah. Well, but it would be bigger than that, because it's, I mean, you're right. It is the same as the NIT, but I think it could be huge, because it would be teams that are in the top 25 in the country would be in it.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. You're right. It's not really like true leftovers. These are teams that are legitimately competing throughout the season.
You're not talking about the 40 or 50th best team in the country like you would be in basketball. You'd be talking about, top 10, top 15 teams. So another idea that I'd like to espouse, which I've been sitting on all year until this point, but if this is going to be just a Power 5 tournament, which it is, why don't we make it the same idea, 6 teams, but take the 5 conference champions and then 1 at large, and make that your six teams there.
Seems pretty easy to me.
Well, what that would do is, this past Saturday was Championship Saturday, which is normally one of my favorite weekends of the year. It was good. The games didn't really play out to be that much fun, but there's something cool about Championship Saturday in general. The SEC championship was awesome. I don't know if you watched much of that with Florida coming back at the end, but
I thought, I mean, holy shit,
it felt like they had a chance. But what that would do, if you did that plan, if you made the conference championship games, essentially the Championship Saturday would become the first round of the playoffs. You would have to win that game to make it into the final 6. So technically you would have a 10-team playoff, even though what I'm calling a 6-team playoff, it would be 10 teams. And then that would get you down to 5, and then you'd have 1 at large, whether it's, independent Notre Dame going forward, or, that would still leave the door open a little bit for, a non-Power 5 like Cincinnati to possibly jump into that at-large bid. But I like the idea of making the champ, puts more emphasis again on championship weekend, more on the regular season. So technically, you'd be playing in your division of your conference all year to get a slot into the playoffs, which would be your championship game. Then if you win that championship game, then you go to the college football playoff. So there's something cool about that hierarchy, working your way up the ladder, playing the competition in your division versus your conference versus all of America. And I think there's some coolness there, because the main reason I don't want the playoff to go above 6 or 8, certainly not 16, is it ruins the excitement and fun of the regular season. Because if you let everybody in, you could lose a couple games and it's not a big deal, where the emphasis on winning every week is paramount in this. And we saw how it cost Texas A&M, it cost Oklahoma, it certainly cost Florida, where, if you let 16 teams in, who cares if Florida lost? Who cares if Oklahoma loses 2 games? They would still get in. So I don't know. It's just, I always thought that'd be a cool way to do it. If we are going to basically just say this is the top 5, Power 5 invitational, which it is, make those championship games the first round of the playoffs. Then no one can complain. People get everything they want. They get an expanded playoffs. They just have to think about it a little bit differently and just call it a 10-team playoff, but which in a reality ends up being a 16 playoff. So that was my idea. I wanted to throw out there this week. I didn't want to mention it too early. I wanted to see how things played out this year, but that is my real platform, where I think could actually be a reality that everybody could get behind. I'm still amazed that the powers that be created a system. The powers that be, meaning the Power 5, they created a system that excludes one of their conferences every single year, at least one, and usually 2. The Pac-10 gets fucked every time, and the Big 12 gets fucked routinely. Yep. So it's just amazing that's a situation that has existed. There's no way it's going to exist after whenever the current TV contract runs out. I believe that that might be several years down the road before that actually runs out, but we will have an expanded playoffs at that point. I'm hoping it's just 6 and not 8 or something ridiculous like 16.